What is up, freaks? It's your boy Marty Bent here to introduce this week's episode of Tales from the Crypt with Michael Caras, a.k.a. the Bitcoin Rabbi. We sat down last week on a rainy afternoon, had a great, incredible conversation about how I got into Bitcoin, the importance of family, a bunch of other stuff. It's a great conversation. You freaks are going to enjoy it. This week's episode of Tales from the Crypt is brought to you by the Cash App. As you know, Cash App is the simplest way to send and save money. And now it's the simplest way to grow your money. Introducing Cash App Investing. Unlike investing tools that only let you buy entire shares of stock, Cash App lets you instantly invest a little or as much as you want. You can stack sats. You can stack a portion of a Bitcoin. That's what stacking sats is. Now you can stack stonks, stack portions of stonks. What's a portion of a stonk? We have to come up with that. Is it a ston? We're stacking stons? I don't know. All right, you can do this on the Cash App now. They have the Boost program still. You can buy, sell Bitcoin. You can send it to a personal wallet, from a personal wallet to the app. Then they have the Boost program. You go to merchants, you go save 5% of Whole Foods. You go down the street, you save $1 at your local coffee shop. And then you can buy your favorite company's stock. If it's just a little too expensive and you only want a piece of it, you can do that now too. And because Cash App is directly connected to your bank account, there are no 4 or 5 day waiting periods for inbound transfers. So you can start investing today, Brokerage services are provided by Cash App Investing, a subsidiary of Square and member SIPC. And as always, when you sign up, as of recently, if you sign up using the code STACKINGSATS, you're going to get $10 off. You're not going to get You're not going to get $10 off. You're going to get $10 sent to you via the Cash App, and then Cash App is also going to send $10 to our good friends Owls. Owls Lacrosse. It's not $5 anymore, it's $10. So if you're sitting there, you don't have the Cash App, you're able to download it wherever you may be, and you haven't done it. So yeah, just do it to send $10 to Owls, if anything. So download the Cash App from your local app store today and start stacking sats if you want to. I'm not going to force you to. Do your research first. Do your research. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends at Casa. How comfortable do you freaks feel about your OPSEC? How about your security? Well, our friends at Casa have gathered an incredible team, and they're putting together one of the most secure ways to hodl your Bitcoin with their multi-sig setups. All right, so they've got different tiers. They just announced that their 2 of 3 multi-sig will be open to gold members this week. They're always innovating. They've got a node out there, the node 2. They've got different packages like I described. If you get platinum or diamond status, you're going to get 24/7 VIP service. You're going to get a personalized onboarding experience, and you're going to walk you through a personal OPSEC plan as well. If you have any questions, you're curious about some part of their product that you don't have an answer to, email them at membership@team.casa. That's membership@team.casa. Ask them any questions you have. They'll walk you through a demo. Use the code TFTC when you do sign up. You're going to get up to $250 off. The code TFTC when you engage at Casa. All right, they're working on security. They're working on OPSEC for you. They're going to provide you with Faraday bags. If you sign up in a membership tier, you're going to get all future Casa products. It's good stuff. Great team there. Shout out Jeremy and Jameson Lopp. So go check them out, Casa. Use the code TFTC. Again, email them at membership@team.casa if you have any questions. If you want to go check out the site, keys.casa/keymaster for their multi-sig tiers. All right, freaks, enjoy this episode with the Bitcoin Rabbi. We had a great, incredible conversation, a great perspective on Bitcoin, and enjoy. Okay. From the Crypt. What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. It's your boy Marty Bent here on a Tuesday afternoon, a rainy Tuesday afternoon, late October, here to celebrate the 1-year Twitter anniversary of our guest, Michael Caras, a.k.a. the Bitcoin Rabbi. Welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming by. You're on a little press tour right now. Just came from the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, I live upstate, so when I come to the city, I try and, make all the connections and hit up all the hot spots, all the hot Bitcoin spots. So got the Tales from the Crypt podcast. I've got the New York Stock Exchange. Go out for dinner with some Bitcoiners tonight. all the important places to be in the city.
Pack day, trifecta. What was it like on the stock exchange? Was that your first time?
Yeah, first time there. It was actually pretty quiet. The movie version of the stock exchange is a bunch of people running around and yelling at each other, and it was just like pretty low key and just like a bunch of news studios around. So we were on one of the little studios that was like on a perch, like overlooking it, and we just like did a 10-minute clip. It was a woman that I met. I was at the Crypto Springs conference in Palm Springs last month, and so I met someone there who does the show, and she said, you're in New York, whenever you're there, come by and we'll do a little show. So it was fun. It was a nice experience.
Yeah, it looked like a good time. And the funny you mentioned that like the stock exchange is empty these days, and we were before we hit record, we took a nice little walk to the bodega, do a little pre-interview conversation, and we talked about how I used to work in Chicago and the future's fun, and I worked with a lot of people who used to work on the Chicago Board of Trade, which is like the most infamous trade floor, people like screaming at each other just like in a packed mass. And the traders that I worked with in like 2011 to 2014 just talked so nostalgically about the days of the floor being lively like that. Now it's all computers, and computers is probably quiet because computers can't yell at each other. They're speaking in bits.
Yeah, I've never seen anything, I just know it from movies and stuff, but that's not my background at all, like any kind of stock or trading or finance or anything. They were originally going to ask me about like the DC Georgetown FinTech conference going on now, and I was like, I have no idea. Like I'm just a rabbi who likes Bitcoin. Like I don't know about that. Like I heard the guy from Ripple's going to be there. Woo.
So let's jump into this. You're just a rabbi who's got into Bitcoin. What's your journey, man? How did you become a rabbi? How did you find Bitcoin? What draws you to Bitcoin? Why'd you write a book about it? A children's book particularly?
Yeah. So, I was raised really, very religious, like basically traditional, but our family was not super into it. As a teenager, I liked a lot of different things. I liked, economics. I found Milton Friedman and like Thomas Sowell, and like I was really liked that kind of free market, like libertarian thought. Like that's something that can speak to a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. Like why don't we all just let each other do what you want, and because we're all different. And so I really like that a lot. But I also I wanted some kind of like meaning, and for me I was looking and finding meaning. I didn't find it in like my kind of non-traditional synagogue. I looked into like Eastern religions a bit, like to see what they had to offer, and I really liked the both like spiritual aspect and the practice of Orthodox Judaism. So that spoke to me. I decided that I wanted to study this. I moved to Israel, and I went to rabbinical school for 4 years. I, did all my studies there. And when I came, I was actually planning on living in Israel, but my brother lives there, and I've got one older brother, and I ended up coming back to New York, where I met my wife, and I've just been like a rabbi. I don't have like my own synagogue. Like we have a senior rabbi, and there are a lot of junior rabbis, you could say, but I do teach. Like I'm a rabbi as a teacher for a Jewish day school, and I give classes, like adult classes, and so that's what I do. My wife is a graphic designer, and so I kind of work with her also. So I got into like web design, graphic design, and so I've always kind of had this tech. So I have like my rabbinical studies, like Jewish, spiritual interest. I liked economics and like free market and liberty, and then I also like technology. Like I've always been like an Apple fanboy, and when I found out about Bitcoin, like very late, I was just like, I jumped on it. Like it took me so short from hearing about Bitcoin to like being fully blown into it. Actually, I just heard a joke today. I'll tell you that it fit very right. Someone said, I fell into a quicksand. I'm up to my ankles in it. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, but I fell in head first.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so that's basically me, that I like fell in hard. And
what drew you in?
So my older brother, just like, in 2017, lots of people, anyone who was like tangentially connected to like technology or investment or that, like everyone was getting in. So my brother just like mentioned it, and he's like, look into Bitcoin, this, and I looked into Bitcoin, I looked into everything else, and I was like, none of these make sense to me, but Bitcoin makes a lot of sense to me. And I just, I started telling my wife about it and was like, this is life-changing, like this is world-changing. And like a week of like, hitting Andreas Antonopoulos videos pretty hard. And then like, that was when a lot of podcasts were starting to pick up also. So like I absorbed like everything that I could, at the end of 2017 and throughout 2018 as well. So like the whole time the price was going down, I was still, people just kept saying like, you still into that? You still into that? And I was like, yeah, really more now than I was before. And, because when you're looking at like the non-log chart, what is it called? The
linear chart.
Yeah, linear chart. You don't see the whole, you don't realize, and you just saw it went just up, and you're like, hey, you don't realize that it's been going up and down and up and down, when you look at it that way. So when you zoom out and you see like, oh, Bitcoin goes up and then it goes down, and like then you can kind of calm down as you go through your first bear market.
Yeah, no, I think Trace Mayer was the one who really helped me conceptualize this, the fact that if you look at it in a log chart, Bitcoin moves in like a lockstep nature, right?
Yeah,
or
and
like
especially
a step function nature.
Yes. Especially like in the halving 4-year cycle. That's what Preston Pish talked about. So that was like one thing about coming into Bitcoin, which also I found similar about like going to rabbinical school, is it's very humbling how many like geniuses you meet, how many people are so smart. And like whether it's in cryptography, in coding, in finance, in history, and all these things. And like I just came into this field and realized there are so many smart people here from so many different fields, and they all like realize that this is a powerful thing. And so I was like, wow, that like it's humbling. So for the first year of like being a year and a half, I just like sat back and listened. So I was like a total anon, like I don't think if I had it, I had maybe had an old Twitter account with no followers and no tweets and stuff. And I was just like soaking it in podcasts. I got to listen to your podcast and to Noted podcast. And then after like a year, I started noticing connections between Bitcoin and Judaism, things that some are like more meaningful, some are kind of cute, some jokes, and I was like, you know what, I just want to like, I've got a voice, I've got a unique perspective, I think people would like this. So I was like, I'll make the Bitcoin Rabbi, and I took a picture of a Bitcoin and put like one of those black hats on it that you might see guys walking around Williamsburg, and like a hat that I wear often myself, and I was like, that's it, I'm the Bitcoin Rabbi, let's see how this goes. And I was surprised, like it's been exactly a year, and I didn't think people would be that interested, but it's been the meeting people and talking to people and like being able to meet people like yourself, and that's been like super fun and a great time.
No, it's crazy. Like you mentioned, like the different walks of life that Bitcoin attracts. It's again, it's inevitable, right? It's a tool that no matter what walk of life you come from, you can leverage and use, right? And it can be useful to you. But very interested to hear sort of the parallels with Bitcoin and Judaism that you have noticed and pay attention to.
Yeah, so it depends. Like really, I talk to different groups. So like when I'm talking to Orthodox Jewish people that are interested in Jewish law, from the textual biblical stuff. So I'll actually like go through, and I've got a presentation. I'll like look at different verses and different analysis of like Abraham uses money. I actually just quoted from last week, like gold. I didn't even realize this. I knew it in the back of my head, but I only looked at it this past week. Like gold is mentioned at the very beginning of the Torah, the very beginning of the Bible. Like there's just a random verse. It's talking about the creation of the world, and it's like, and there's gold. It's like it doesn't talk about copper. It doesn't talk about silver. It's just like, hey, people, I know you're going to be interested in gold. So like this idea of like the gold standard of, that's an important thing. Money, hard money, is something that's like right at the beginning. And then I actually had a really fascinating conversation in DMs with Nick Szabo about like the development of silver, how like it was used to be money was literally just weight. And so there was like, it was trustless mostly trustless because you weren't even dealing with coinage then. Coinage, you just take it at face value, whatever it is. And if the coins get clipped or if they get, mixed with other metals. But when you're dealing with like weights of silver, and that's how early in the Bible it talks about, measure, literally the word shekel, which you might have heard before, means a weight, a measurement. And it doesn't say you count out money, it says you weigh out money. So like they've developed, but then later on, even in the Bible, it starts talking about coins and start talking about coinage. So like I go through that history. That's like actually can be relevant and like legal applications of like what is currency, what is money. So like when I'm talking to more advanced Jewish crowds, I'll kind of like focus on that. And then when I'm talking like on Bitcoin Twitter, I'll like find something interesting like in the Bible about that wherever it finds money or wherever it talks about like anything, not even like totally Bitcoin related, but like the Bitcoin ethos of like, personal sovereignty or of low time preference or anything like that, whatever fits in, or possibly carnivory. Anything Bitcoiners might be interested in, I'll like try and find something that connects.
Well, I don't know if this episode will be posted before this date. I think this event will have come and passed by the time this is being published. But the November 1st fast for Satoshi Day.
Oh yeah,
we were DMing and you were telling me that there is some correlation. Or did you tweet it?
I replied or something. Or whatever. There. So I thought it was great that you had the fast for Satoshi, that you fast, and then you said like that religious people not only have religious fast, but then they take that money and they donate it or something. I know some people say tithe by selling your fiat for Bitcoin. That's fine. I also I'm a big proponent of good old fashioned charity as well. So there are actually several. Lots of people know the fast day of Yom Kippur, which is like our major one, but there are lots of minor fasts throughout that are like established, and then people can fast for their own personal, spiritual or health reasons as well. And actually, we were just talking about how there's just this week started a Bitcoin fasting Telegram chat started by Katie and Nina, which is just so funny. There are just a lot of that's another thing I like about Bitcoin. It happens to me that I like a lot of things culturally and fit in culturally a lot with Bitcoiners, and like that's when you're dealing with a Bitcoiner, like that there are just certain things that you're gonna connect
where they
on.
stand on some things, right?
Yeah, and I know the great question of, is Bitcoin a community? There is a Bitcoin community. There maybe are many, but like there's a Bitcoiners. Some people call it, the Bitcoin pleb community. that kind of idea. So I mean it's mostly what I do on Bitcoin or on Bitcoin Twitter is like have fun. I make jokes, try to tell interesting stories or things, but I also like just to like be a face of somebody that is religious and also like different culturally, because that Bitcoin is growing, and like there are going to be both for like that the Bitcoiners, the people who have been here for a long time, or that are maybe more traditionally like from the finance background or from the tech background, to like know that this space is getting bigger and there are going to be a lot of different kinds of people coming in here. And also for my community, for the Jewish community that sees Bitcoin and maybe have either they don't know about it or they think like, oh, it's a bad thing and it's got like these bad connotations, and they read the news and hear things. And so I tell them, like I do my presentation to synagogues and I say like, is Bitcoin kosher? And I go through all the ways that that it is and can be, and it's a tool, and a tool can be used for whatever good or bad you want it to be used for. So that is I just like being a face of like the growing community and growing user base of Bitcoin.
No, and it's much appreciated. I can't believe it's only been a year that you've been on Twitter. I thought that was hilarious, but I think the emergence of the Bitcoin Rabbi is great. Like it does, like just objectively looking at it from an outsider's perspective, it does like quickly make you think like, oh yeah, like rabbis are into Bitcoin. This is awesome. Like I can have something in common with a rabbi, and it's Bitcoin, and we can all this can help a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds. Yeah,
so that is one thing that I do like to focus on, is that like how Bitcoin is like a force for good globally. That's what I believe. I really think that it is something that's going to help. All these, the whole crypto space is all of these sky high ideas of things, but I think like plain and simple, a Bitcoin world with a hard money is just going to be plain good for individuals, families. I don't think of it at all as like a get rich, but it's a just, I don't remember who coined the term, but a not get poor, just being able to save a little bit of money, being able to know that your money is secure. And like, you look what's going on in Lebanon this week, and it's like the banks are closed. Like, it's a crazy thing we're in America. We think like everything's safe, and God willing, it'll all be safe, and we'll be, we could live just like and not worry about anything. But as a Jewish person, I know our history. I know what Jewish people have been through from World War II and previous, and that knowing that you can have your money, your little like slice of sovereignty and of hard money is definitely like a comforting feeling. But so I want to I like to focus on like the family, like that Bitcoin is for families. It's not just like for young VC guys to get rich and like do 100Xs, but just like some people who are trying to save for their kids' futures. And I think that's a message that also a lot of people, like to hear and like to see, even if they're not like definitely nothing to do with like being specifically Jewish or Jewish focused. I try to like make everything that I talk about relevant to everybody. Like I could go in lots of different directions of what I'm going to focus on, but I really want, to be kind of like, you find what you connect on, not what you are separated on.
No, but even so, like, I really do appreciate the religious perspective. It's just not even specifically point out Judaism, but like a religious perspective on Bitcoin. Like today's day and age, we were talking about it before we hit record. Like, it seems like the world is, or religion is dying. The world may be losing its grip on religion, or at least turning away from it, especially here in America. Yeah, Kanye dropped Jesus as King. I know you haven't.
I haven't heard that one.
You haven't heard it yet, but it is just as an outsider, a Kanye fan, somebody who was raised Catholic, sort of got pretty jaded by the church, and now approaching my 30s, married, thinking about starting a family, like thinking back, maybe religion and family values and the values that a lot of the world's religions preach isn't so bad. And I'm just interested to get your perspective as a man of the faith, what your thoughts on are like the modern state of religion, especially in America.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely hard, and I think the reason that it's hard is people do have a hard time because of like the institutions and like having trust and having to like submit or having to give up things. But religion doesn't have to be that. It does, or rather belief or faith. I think that I actually posted an article that I didn't write, but I shared it, that was like talking about the Tower of Babel, that it was like, what was so bad? Like, they developed a new technology. They realized that they were, growing, and they could make something great and it would be beneficial. So like, what's bad about that? So it's that like they were doing it just for the sake of doing it. Like, they didn't have a human goal in mind or like a higher purpose. It was just like advancement for the sake of advancement. So I think with it, like anybody who's a Bitcoin hodler, like anybody who's in this space, and like, you have to kind of be thinking like, what am I making this better for? And so like, I posted once like, Bitcoiner without kids, it's like, I'm going to be rich. Bitcoiner with kids, like my grandchildren will have some Bitcoin. Like that's I think that like thinking about what the goals for the future and for mankind, like what are we striving for, like of trying to help each other, care about each other. And like, even though I'm Jewish and I'm Orthodox, and so I like follow a pretty strict lifestyle of kosher and Sabbath and a lot of different things, but there's actually like a misconception that like in Judaism has a very utilitarian perspective of like what like it just means to be a good person. And it actually is very nothing's coincidence, but it happens to be that it's actually in this week's Torah portion with Noah, when Noah, who was actually pre-Abraham, so he was before the Jewish religion and before Moses and all that. So God's talking to him and says like, hey, you know, how to be a good person, like don't kill people, don't steal things, you know, take care of your family, you know, don't make idols out of creation of the world, don't harm animals, be a good neighbor, make a good world. And these are like, it's called the 7 Noahide laws. It's really not like, you don't have to commit yourself to like be this, you know, wear a cloak or do anything like that. You can kind of just say, you know, I want to live for a greater purpose outside of myself and outside of just like this, my physical benefit. So like you can do, you know, I know that you support charities. I always thought it was Owls lacrosse.
AL apostrophe.
Yes,
Somebody said
I
that.
always thought it was Owls, and then
That's my Philly accent coming in.
and then,
Owls.
I saw it, and I thought that was so nice. Where I grew up, I grew up in Maryland, and lacrosse is like huge. Also in Maryland, I didn't play it. I was a tennis player, which I just had a great conversation with Matt about. That I played tennis like my whole childhood. Not so much anymore these days. I wish I had time for it. It's hard to have time for much things outside of the house. I have a lot of time for Bitcoin because it's like in the house, you know, on your phone or just, you know, not active. But when you have 5 kids and you're taking care of them and several jobs, it's hard to like make it out. I definitely need to do that. But like, yeah, helping out other people is something that, whether it's in the name of religion or just faith or just caring about your fellow man, it's something that I think people need to think about more. Having kids and having a family definitely brings that to your awareness. So I'm very positive on family life. I think it's good for everybody.
No, and I agree completely. And actually, Owls Lacrosse, use the code Stacking Sats on the Cash App if you haven't already. Get $5 to Owls Lacrosse. I tweeted this out last night or a couple nights ago. I caught up with Sam Angelato, who runs the program, and was there. I was probably one of the first volunteers when he started the program in 2011. And it was like an experience, and it really showed you actually the importance of family values, because I would take the Western bus to the west side of Chicago, and not every kid, like there was this particular school that we were at when I was there were a lot of kids with good families and parents that cared and stuff like that, but there were also a lot of kids who were living with their grandmothers or their aunts and didn't really have stable homes, and then the condition of the neighborhood, it was a food desert, and so the kids are eating sugar all day, and then after school they have nothing to do. So Owls is a program basically it's to use the sport of lacrosse to help imbue leadership skills, confidence, more importantly, social skills, and leadership skills via the sport of lacrosse, and then help with tutoring and actually educate about like good nutrition and stuff like that. But it really does drive home the important, like there's a reason crime rates are so high, right? It's the breakdown of the family in those neighborhoods. It's so sad to see up front too. But I do have hope it can be fixed, and I do think people are starting to realize that maybe the hedonistic lifestyle that society,
fiat money that it led to,
and fiat culture, if you will. And that's actually, I watched an interview with Kanye that he did leading up for the Jesus is King press tour, but he was telling somebody like he's like turning his back on the culture because it contradicts itself. Like everybody's rapping about taking perks and doing stuff that can get you locked up, and then complaining about prison reform and stuff like that. And it's what is our culture? What values are we sending in the airwaves every day, and what does that really incentivize at the end of the day? So again, like it does, and I'm not trying to preach about values or say you need to think this way. I'm just saying it's interesting seeing the conflict of these two viewpoints sort of hit ahead here, it seems, at least in my observation. I don't know where I'm going with this. I was just like a little rant.
Yeah, I would say just on that last part that you said about like preaching, like I think that the best you can do is just try and be the person that you think that the world should see, and be the person that you can be, and that means taking care of others and spending time and doing things like that. So that's, I think people resonate with that. And so I think they do like seeing, a Bitcoin rabbi come out and share, once in a while, share a funny joke, once in a while, share a Bible story, once in a while, share like an act of charity or, a Bitcoin analysis, and like try and connect them all together. That's, like I said, it's like I've got my range of like more serious jokes and then things in the middle, and try and get them. So, but I started off like with really nobody had heard of me, and I was like trying to like, I was trying to like get information and try to like, spread my perspective. And some of the first people that I communicated actually was one with Matt Odell, and Pierre Richard was like absolutely like totally springboarded me, because he invited me. First, so Pierre made the node launcher. So here's what happened. There was S2X, Sega 2X, where the companies tried to take over Bitcoin, and I was like, it was so confusing for a new Bitcoiner who just came into the space, who was trying to learn as much as possible. It's like you just walked into a civil war.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I didn't realize that.
I can't imagine how confusing that was.
It was scary. So then I was like, first thing I had to do is I got to run a node. So I was, I was already running my own node. So that was already the year before. That was like the beginning of 2018. But I was trying to get on Lightning that whole 2018. Nothing was working. It was still like this. So Pierre launched the node launcher in like November, December, but I could not get it working. So I was just like tweeting out, like tagging people, like, who can help me? Like, I'm not smart. I'm not good at this computer stuff. I just want to buy some Blockstream stickers. Like, somebody help me out. So Pierre he was like not responsive for like a day. And, so Matt actually DM'd me, or I DM'd him. He like commented or something. I DM'd him, and like we went through the whole thing. And this was after I'd been listening to your podcast for a few months. And I didn't realize, I don't know how I didn't realize, but I didn't realize that it was him. I just thought it was just like a friendly, helping guy on Bitcoin Twitter.
Well, he is.
You're friendly,
Matt Odell, he's always there to lend a helping hand.
Bitcoiners are extremely generous and helpful with their time and with their education. That is absolutely true. So like I spent a lot of time with him, and then like we got kind of stuck, and then Pierre came back online and he helped me out. And, I was just like, oh, Matt Odell, I know who you are. Oh, thank you. And I like your podcast. Appreciate it. And then Pierre, like, he's like, let me help you. Let me call you on the phone to like help you with your bug that you were having, because it was actually a bug, and we helped kind of like debug it, figure out what was going on with his software. And then he's just like, who are you? And what is going on? Like, I was like, this is... So he invited me onto his podcast, and that was basically like, which took me from like 100 followers to 1,000. That was like pretty much the springboard. So huge, big mensch, big Pierre Richard, huge mensch.
Shout out to Pierre. He helped jumpstart this podcast. He was our first guest. This podcast probably would not be where it is without Pierre's endorsement in the beginning. Pierre, forever grateful.
I might have known that, but yeah, so that was, and then, and then so then, I'm just doing my stuff, going through, like, no intention of like, I've got a bunch of other jobs. I do a bunch of other things. Like, I just like talking about Bitcoin and sharing. And then this like crazy idea popped in my head literally overnight. I tweeted out to, Saifedean Ammous, and said like, hey, is there like anything like your book but for kids? And he said, no, there's not, but that sounds like a great idea. And I within 24 hours, I had this book written. I had the whole book, every word of it written. I mean, went through some revisions there, and I was like, this is gonna, like, I really like this. I think I might have shared it to you first draft. I shared it to a number of Bitcoiners. I got some feedback. It went through a lot of revisions.
I didn't know it was 24 hours of writing that. Was it just
No, I mean, it's not that long. It's only 1,000 words. It was just a flat... Well, I think...
You still have to tie it all together.
Yeah, I really don't know. I can't... People ask me, like, am I going to make a sequel or something of this book?
Don't force it.
Yeah, that's one. I don't want to force it. And, like, I don't even know how I could, because this was just like inspiration. It just like really came, I didn't plan it out in advance. I really wrote it chapter by chapter, and I actually added the last chapter chapter 6 was like an afterthought that I wasn't going to put in at the end, but it's about altcoins. It's called Copies. It's where the bad guys try and make their own altcoins, and it doesn't work out so well for them. And then Elizabeth Stark and Lalu school them with the Lightning Network. So
yeah, I saw people buying coffee with Bitcoin at the Lightning Network conference over the last weekend.
Yeah, well, first of all, basically that's the only doing it for a fun experimental thing. I actually just today was listening to Stefan Levere with Jack Mallers. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. What I love listening to Jack Mallers just like go off on finance stuff that like I've never thought of and never considered, and he's just got this like you expect him to like be awesome technologically, which he is, but he's just got like such a unique, fun analysis. So he's like, everybody in Bitcoin now, everybody in Lightning Network now is doing it for fun, like is doing it to help bootstrap the projects. So, like that's what every single wallet I've ever done, which I've tested all of them. Like that's a hobby of mine, is to test the every single Lightning wallet that comes out and play around with them.
Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I really like Zap connected to my BTC Pay server, and that, with full node and everything, and that because that I can get paid. I sell these books on my website, bitcoinmoneybook.com, and people pay with Lightning, and then I've got that Lightning on the app on my phone, and I can use it. But as far as a standalone app, I really like the Breeze wallet right now, where I just think that they are really thinking forward about how people are going to be using it. They're not going to be managing their channels. They're not going to be dealing with liquidity and stuff, which, is a very like advanced thing, which I've been dealing with and working with that. I was actually not one of the first, but I was like number 60 in the Lightning torch. Mm-hmm. So I was there before Matt and before Jack, Twitter Jack. I actually was one, I have to say, I was using a non-custodial, which I know a lot of people, there was a lot of custodial use of Lightning wallets during that, because that was a time when like Blue Wallet came out and Wallet of Satoshi. So there were a lot of people that were pretending they were using the Lightning Network.
I had to, it was a big learning experience for me going back to channel management. Like I was not good at managing channels in the beginning, and like my first couple Lightning Network torch attempts did not go through because my channels were all messed up. Right. I had to set up some channels and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was. Nobody gets it until they actually start it, and you realize what it takes to get set up on Lightning, and it's a lot. And so it's got a long way to go before it's really usable outside of just like fun use cases. But I do think I saw at the Lightning conference in Berlin, which I was kind of almost supposed to go to, which I'll tell you in a second. But the like video game thing, I think that's great. I've played some koala lightning chess with my brother, and so I think that's great use cases. And that really is, you cannot do that with other. Right. You can't do that with fiat. So that's a great use case. But I have a hard time with conferences because most of them are on Sabbath, on Shabbat, on Saturdays, like BitBlock Boom. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to go to. I saw you guys had a blast, and I would have loved it. But most of it was on Saturday, so unfortunately that doesn't work because like I don't use electronics or travel or lots of stuff. But the Lightning conference in Berlin was a holiday called Sukkot, where we have like we build booths. Maybe you saw some around here in Williamsburg. We build booths outside and eat and live outside for a week. That's like at the end of the Jewish high holiday. So I couldn't go to that, but I was originally invited to go to that conference by Elizabeth Stark. Seriously, I mess with all these apps. I play around with all of them. And I do report some bugs sometimes. So I reported a bug to the Lightning Labs team, and then Elizabeth Stark, who I also is included in the book, so I had spoken to her a little bit. She was like, "Hey, why don't you come to the Lightning conference?" And like I was like, "Oh, I would love to. I really would." But and I haven't watched all the video, but I've seen some of it and it looked like a blast. I couldn't do that in Zed, so she invited me to Crypto Springs. Crypto Springs was a conference in Palm Springs. It was about a month ago, and that was a lot of fun. And I met a lot of cool. It was a diverse crowd. When I got in the car to go, one guy told me that he works with the Litecoin Foundation. Another person, a girl in the car, said she works for the Zcash Foundation or whatever like that. So I mean, there was a variety, but all the speakers were like 100% Bitcoin, which was nice, and a lot of Lightning and stuff. So I met up with cool people. I met Alex Svetsky. I met with Brecky von Bitcoin. I met Preston Byrne, who was great. I had
some quality Bitcoiners.
I watched Preston Byrne. It was hilarious. He was like the stage was by a pool, and he. It was like lunch break or something, and he was reading a book, or we were chatting out like on a chairs for a while, and then he's like, I want to sit by this pool. I want to sit in one of the floaty things. He's in his clothes, and he's like, I don't care if I get wet, but I don't want this book to get wet. And I was like, I am 100% certain that if you get in that floaty thing on that pool, you are going to fall in and get everything wet. It was not a half a second after getting in, and he's just like face first into the pool on the thing. So that was one of the highlights, besides meeting awesome people like Elizabeth Stark and probably a dozen others who I can't remember everybody's name now, but that was cool. I really like meeting Bitcoiners. Like, I just have a desire to like be, I kind of like live upstate, and there's not much of a community there, and so I just want to like. I came down one time for the NYC Bitcoiners meetup, and Pierre, again, great guy, changed the whole schedule of it and the location stuff so that I could come on a Sunday to a kosher restaurant. So that was amazing. That was the first time I hung out with Bitcoiners, and that was actually when we launched the book. I had not even the real final finished copy, but I had the like prototype like printed out at Staples. Like the real books were coming the next day, and that was the first time I ever met a real Bitcoiner in real life. And I went to Magical Crypto, and then this Crypto Springs, and more stuff to come. But it's been, those were like my top things of the year. But one of probably the funniest was when we raised money, we sold. I just had like a crazy idea when all these Libra hearings were going on, and I was like, these senators like don't know what they're talking about.
No.
Like, I mean, forget about the most recent one, which was like a shame. Which they were not even talking about cryptocurrency. They were just shaming for like diversity and stuff, and like stuff that had nothing to do with Libra. But even the ones beforehand, they just like don't know what they're talking about. So I put out there, I was like, hey, if anybody wants to send a book to Congress, I'll do it at price, like at actual print cost, and I'll mail it to a congressman. And I thought I'd get like 25 or 50 or something. I got 300 books donated. I was like, this is crazy. So I sent to the president, I sent to the whole Senate, I sent to like half of the United States congressmen, and I got a few, less than I would have hoped. I got maybe like a handful of responses back of them just like saying, thank you for the book, very interested in Bitcoin, yada, yada. But
that's actually, that's more surprising. I thought it would be zero.
Sometimes they just have automated things if gifts are received. They did. I don't even remember exactly who all did send me, but so these are the fun things that you get to do just if you come into Bitcoin. I wrote out like I came for the financial freedom and hard money. I'm staying for the financial freedom and hard money, but the friends have been good along the way too.
It is always incredible meeting Bitcoiners in person. I mean, we've talked about this a lot on this podcast, but it cannot be understated. Like you said, you feel like you know where you stand sort of almost immediately, and it's easy to sort of jump right into conversations and stuff like that. And it does feel like, again, like it does feel, I don't know, it does feel like we're at a really important point in human history, and Bitcoin seems to be very important. It's something we should be focusing on.
Yeah, besides for the technology of like the communication.
Like, do you think it's imperative?
Is Bitcoin imperative?
Bitcoin or something like it?
I mean, I think that that's a good question. I kind of want to. So I've got like my what I personally like think, and then there's like the professional view. It's like I think Bitcoin is.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's like I think Bitcoin is so inevitable. Like I think that it's just like it's so hard to say, and that it's. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So like it could fail or whatever. But like it just seems like. I'm mentally like all in that sense, that it just seems like we've been waiting for like some good news, and this is good news. Like there's a new technology and a new type of trust and cooperation that's fair. It's just fair, and it can work for everybody, and it's just going to take some work, and it's going to take a lot of time, but I think it's immensely better than the system that we have. And I think, that if your view is that the best, most powerful force of good or of raising people up out of poverty and out of oppression and out of dictatorship has been freedom and free markets and capitalism, then something that like puts that on steroids, how, if that's what, I can understand people disagree and there are other theories and whatever, fine, not everyone has to agree. But if that's where, if you were into all of that perspective and all of that philosophy beforehand, Bitcoin is just like amazing for that. So I see it as part of the force. Like I think it'll be, when it actually does achieve that, it'll be like in the background. Because it won't be like, it's Bitcoin. It'll just be like, oh, money works now. Just like, phones work, or something like Wi-Fi. Like, did we say, Wi-Fi changed it's everywhere. It's literally, Wi-Fi is just everywhere now. It makes everything work. Like, I'm pretty sure we're doing this podcast on Wi-Fi. Like,
we're using Wi-Fi right now. Yes.
There we go. Like, it permeates society, and it just makes all the things that we like appreciate in life just work. But it's almost an afterthought.
Yeah, and then how long do you think we are away from that? Like we were just talking about Lightning, it's definitely far away, but even at the protocol level, we still got a ways to go.
I don't know. I don't like to predict, because people are on both sides. People have strong opinions on both sides, and like, who am I to know one way or the other? I can't. I don't want to be wrong. Like, I don't want to say, like, I think this. I really don't know. I don't know if we're 10 years away or if we're 50 years away. I don't know what, there's the stock to flow model, and there's people just give their price predictions. I don't really have any price predictions other than number go up. Like, that's I'm very strong believer in the number go up. It's, that's pretty much the foundational thing. I'm very against, not against, but I think that for most people, the technology is like going to be not the focus, and not like what they're focused on, but really like just the plain old effects, and like the number go up, the 21, the scarcity, like these are not hard concepts. Like, people can understand that. And that's why in my book, like, there's not any ounce of technology in it. There's not any ounce of like, I don't even mention mining. I don't mention, it's just like, it's like something that I think is intuitive. Everybody kind of knows what money is, but they've just never thought of it, and they kind of never questioned it. But like, once you start telling them, they're like, oh, obviously these are the qualities of money. Like, and if you go like, I think kind of the beginning of the book goes through like the Socratic method. It's like, well, we need money. Well, what's money? What does it do? Well, it helps this and this. Okay, well, will this work as money? No, that won't work because of X. Well, will this work as money? No, let's try. Okay, and you kind of go through it, like question and answer. And I think from a child to a senior citizen can like go through that process and realize like, oh, well, if we could have the perfect solution that would like solve that would, I don't want to say solve everything, but
Bitcoin fixes everything.
Bitcoin has still not fixed my fan is on my refrigerator still making clicking noise. It hasn't fixed it yet. I'm thinking somebody might have hooked up a Bitcoin miner to the back of my refrigerator, because it's been.
Is it internet enabled?
No, I'm just joking. That's just something I wrote out. I was like, how many Bitcoins do I need to click to fix my fan, the refrigerator clicking noise?
No, but it is. Will come natural to people, hopefully. And I agree. Like the unabashed bull in me does think it's inevitable as well, even though I will caution the same caveats that you did earlier. But how does that change society? Like today, the bent that I wrote was about growth at all costs is stupid. There was a great post by Wrath of Non who was quoting a book called Small Towns, I believe. Let me check this real quick.
I'm not familiar.
It just came out. And it was called, Strong Towns. And basically described, we were talking about this earlier, low time preference and stuff like that, building for the future, but this was a great not an anecdote, just great data over the last 50 years, 60 years, since 70 years now, since World War II. You basically had the need to stoke the economy, which led to the government doing massive infrastructure investments and building out the highway system and the suburban networks that we now come to know and hate today in America, all spread out. But and that was basically enabled by a mandate of growth at all costs. We need to grow the economy. People need to be building, need to be buying houses. But what we found is, looking back 50 to 70 years later, all that infrastructure being built out is now tech debt, right? It's essentially tech debt. Like if you're working on a software project and you try to scale it too quickly due to demand, and you make hasty software development decisions, and you have what's called tech debt that could come and bite you in the ass in the future, and you might not be able to pivot or change your product, and it might ruin the product at the end of the day. And with America's infrastructure, we just did that, and this is what the event was about today. And it's crazy what that thirst for growth enabled, talking about fire hydrants per capita in Lafayette, Louisiana, going from per 1,000 people going from like 5 to 50. So you have like a pretty expansive increase there, and this was all fueled again by debt. And as we move into the future, and the
Don't forget, Marty, debt is just money we owe ourselves.
we
owe ourselves,
but
that somebody else paid for or is enjoyed.
But it's something I'm starting to like, or at least not starting to, the last 12 hours in particular, or 18 hours. I've been thinking about this for almost a day now. How am I trying to explain this? The functions that enable that expansion, basically central bank money printing, we're finding today, they may not have the control that we perceived they had when they were able to do that. So the tools that allowed us to build all that stuff may not be available when we need to inevitably fix it due to decay, because you have roads, pipes, and all that stuff that need to get fixed. And so we may have to actually like rebuild a lot of stuff. And the point I'm trying to make is this was incentivized by high time preference growth at all costs thinking. And how is a Bitcoin standard and that forces low time preference what's the world going to look like once that happens, if it happens in our lifetime? Yeah,
well, so that's the another thing I'll say, like, Bitcoiners are going to, not only Bitcoin fixes this, but Bitcoiners are going to need to fix this. It's going to be just like it's up to us, that if we don't want, government to control our lives and try and fix everything, then we've got to, and now I don't know how any of us can right now be fixing the roads and the pipes and stuff, but it is going to be incumbent upon, in the new world and whenever in the future, to be thinking about these things of like how to grow and how Bitcoiners are going to be, or people, the future generation, of which, I think we're about pretty similar in age, of like, this is going to be our world to be trying to improve and trying
stewards
to
of.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's terrible that when we think about the world that we inherited, that like it just seemed like it was so much easier, like financially, for our parents' generation, and that seems to be universal. And like it's just a weird thing. Like you don't expect, especially with how much growth and how much development and how much wealth there is, or apparently is, like, how did that happen? Like, how does it happen? How does it happen that from 1970, I guess it was 1916, whenever the gold,
1971.
There we go, 1971. How does it happen that from 1971, which is like basically the time when our parents were growing up, to our generation, this all happened? It's a mystery. What could it possibly be?
Yeah, and why can't we? That's what I again brought up in the Ben today. Is like why it seems that as a society we don't have the ability to take a 30,000-foot view, put our current condition in the context of human history, and attempt to basically sort of evaluate what we've been doing for the last few decades and sort of make a conscious decision of what we want to do going forward. Like, how do you even approach like having that discussion?
Yeah, well, I'm extremely optimistic, because I do think that kids today and kids that aren't born, basically everyone who's born after the Genesis block, if you were born after January 3rd, 2009, you're a Bitcoin child, you're a Bitcoin person. And I think I think people are gonna get it. I think bad ideas don't last like forever or last, I'm not comparing the United States to like communist Russia or something, but like bad ideas run out of money, and like bad ideas don't get passed down after generation. Like one person can try it and runs for a while, and then it runs until it runs out of money, and then maybe it can go 2 generations or something. But good ideas come back, and I think that good ideas remain over the generations, even if they go in hiding for certain amounts of time, they last. And that's where part of where I get my inspiration as a follower of Torah. That I think it's been going pretty strong, sometimes stronger, sometimes it's been more in hiding, but it's been going on for like 3,000 years. And so I think that kids that are growing up and have the opportunity of Bitcoin and aren't what's the word I'm looking for, turned off from, aren't like brainwashed isn't the right word, but like
conditioned.
Yeah, there you go. They are not conditioned with the fiat system of like, oh well, it's always been this way. Well, it's like, well, actually it hasn't always been this way, and maybe there are other ways that we can run our politics and our culture and our society and all of this. Like, I think that we are going to see a positive future, and I think that kids are just going to get it, and especially because of technology. I think they're going to get smartphones and get their phones, and not going to want to be locked up, and not going to want to feel like they're a prisoner of a system that they didn't they don't have a part in, and that isn't fair to them.
Do you see this with your kids at all?
My kids are pretty young. My oldest is 7.
Okay.
I'll give you actually. Today I was a statist censor. My daughter went on a field trip today, and I don't know if the teacher said that they could or if a kid asked, but somehow it got declared in the classroom that they're allowed to bring money to buy things at the gift shop at their field trip. Now, that's the biggest waste. Feel sorry to any museum workers, but I'm not letting my kid waste her hard-earned money on gift shop tchotchkes. So I censored her transaction. I said, no, you don't get to spend my money on those things, and you don't get to spend your own money on it either. So I was that, and sometimes you just got to be a daddy knows best.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta be a hard ass.
Yeah, but she's only, the oldest is 7. My youngest is almost 1. And actually, the day that I literally got my Lightning node working was the day that my fifth child was born, and so I tweeted out both. I'm like, this is the greatest day of my life. I finally was able to order those Blockstream stickers, and my wife gave birth to a beautiful daughter. Everyone's like, what? I was like, I've got 4 already. I mean,
it's a great day. It's a great day.
It's a great day for me.
Extra memorable.
It is. Since it's my Twitter anniversary, I went back and looked at my greatest hits to remember what have I been doing this whole year. So I did look back at that, and that was pretty popular. People like babies, so.
Well, When you say your daughter has her own money, how do you approach that? Do you have chores, allowance?
Yeah, so
are you giving-
now, so she
giving,
gets money. Yeah, she gets birthday gifts and stuff like from her grandparents and from, I guess mostly from her grandparents. Give her from both sides, give her money for birthdays, or just sometimes they'll just hand some bills or something. But she, from me, started getting all of her allowance on Lightning. So she got an iPod Touch, and I set it up with a Lightning wallet, and so that's where she gets, a quarter here, a quarter there. And she's got two. One, she's got her HODL stack, so she's got a on-chain, cold wallet that's for the HODL position. But then she's got her hot, Lightning wallet as well, and that's for. I mean, I don't know. She hasn't spent any of it, but she gets some. But she also has her, her little fiat, somewhere hidden underneath her mattress or something like that. So, but she's not thinking about, I don't think she's thinking about besides for my oppressive treatment today about like the man keeping her down. But they like Bitcoin. I mean, she's read the book. She understands the book. She understands what the attributes of money are, like, and why, that you can't just. I mean, it goes through it, spells out pretty quick, pretty easily in the book. It says, really all we want is trade with each other. Nobody actually wants money for anything. You can't live in money, you can't eat money, you can't do anything with money. We want goods, we want commodities. But you can't just trade with each other. So you need a placeholder that acts as a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account. So you find some item that fits that, and it has to be. I know that you've heard this and that all your listeners have heard it, but just say what the book goes through. And so they reason out, it's got to be portable, it's got to be durable, it's got to be divisible, it's got to be fungible, it's got to be uniform. And they figure out that, they go through can you use rocks, can you use grass, can you use lemonade, can you use whatever. And they settle on gold because gold is the thing that made the most sense, really gold and silver historically, and then fiat happens. That's you start with gold, and I'm very bearish on gold. I know some people are like gold and Bitcoin, but I don't see how gold has a future in a Bitcoin world. Like I think it's because it has all of these disadvantages. It's confiscatable. It's not easily divisible, not compared to Bitcoin. It's not easily transportable, not compared to Bitcoin. It's not easily verifiable, not compared to Bitcoin. So it's got all of these. It's in some ways it's worse than fiat because you can't even you can't do a credit card. I mean, it's centralized.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, like the supply has been so centralized. Like, do we
know how much gold there is? Like, and when you have gold, do you even have it?
And even of the gold that we do know exists, I'm pretty sure that is very centralized. And is there a strong possibility that becomes more distributed over time? And I just find that hard to believe.
And I bet the mining is also centralized as well. I'm just assuming, but I don't see that that's a future. I think that gold is going to become this like status. It's still going to be this valuable thing, but I think it's going to become. It's not going to be locked up in those vaults anymore. What's it doing there? It's wasting space. Let's get gold back on our clothes and gold back. Let's go all out rappers. That's in a Bitcoin world. We deserve it. We owe it to ourselves. Get all the gold out of Fort Knox.
Let's make it more beautiful.
Melt it down. Now, there's a verse.
Trump's beating us.
There's a verse, not a verse in the Torah, but a quote from one of these sages that actually says that when God was creating the world, really the world didn't deserve gold, but you could use he decided to create it to use it to serve him, to beautify service of God. So that was enough to be worth it to. Gold just shouldn't be just sitting there in vaults. It's got to be used. Make these nice tools or whatever to serve God with. So that's what I'm for. I'm pro gold actually coming and being used for something like that.
I can get down with this cause. I'm all for better aesthetics. That is another thing, another theme in today's band was
these citadels are. What do you think they're going to be built out of? Like aluminum? No, we need.
No, it's not the fiat enabled quick suburban homes they've been used to for the last 5 decades.
Yeah, and even you can go Trace Mayer route, and we can all just pet pieces of gold. And that, did you hear that?
No, what was that?
Great. He said like gold, and I guess I get what he's saying. He's like, gold, when you feel it, like there's something like this raw power of it.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. Like it's so small and it's so light, and it's like, this is worth like $3,000 or something. He's like, I just like to touch it. He's like, it helps you focus your mind and like become a more a longer viewpoint, a longer term thinking person. So that's like it's like, it doesn't need to be the money that you use to transact. It can just be the thing that you like pet to train yourself to like think like, this is for generations. This gold is like for the future. So that I'm cool with that, but I'm not long gold in the in the market.
Yeah, it's do you think like, well, we already talked about like so I'm a believer like Gen Z is entering the workforce now. I was gonna like, so I was just about to be like, do you think like your average institutional investor is gonna be able to like, I could see gold having another pump just because of lack of education about Bitcoin in the meantime, but long term, I agree with you.
Yeah. The kids today, they are not going to buy gold. Kids today, kids born after, Bitcoin kids that are born after January 3rd, 2009 are not going to buy gold. They're going to buy Bitcoin.
I don't even have to say Genesis block. You can go like, again, Gen Z, like 96 and above, I would even say. Like,
yeah, sure, fine. That's whatever. I just, I think it gives me a nice breaking point of like, there's kids born pre-Bitcoin, and all my children were born after Bitcoin. So that's
crazy to think about. And my children will be as well.
Yeah, they're all, they didn't live in a world without Bitcoin. Like they didn't live in a world with. You ever see a kid? You've got a niece or nephew. You ever see kids with touch screens?
My God!
They know from like 6 months old. They know what a touch screen is.
My 1-year-old niece, she'll be not going to dox her birthday. Yeah. She is addicted. Like not addicted. Like, it's not like my sister and brother-in-law are handing her phone, and they're just like, she just like sees that we interact with them and just like wants to do what we're doing, and it's like, oh my God.
They're pretty. Phones are quite amazing. It's some people are like, oh, you have to buy the people waste their money. They buy the nicest, newest phone. I use this thing more than I eat anything else in my life. I'd rather spend more money on this than on my clothes or on my, whatever.
Is that a good or bad thing? It's interesting coming from you. How are Sabbath Saturdays without any electronics?
It's in lots of times, it's extremely relaxing actually. And I would say
you never get withdrawal?
Maybe, so it goes by the sun. So in the summer, it starts late at night, Friday night, and it ends late. So when it's a late night, you don't get any withdrawal because like you're kind of chilling with your family, you're like having a big meal, you maybe like have some wine, and so you're kind of like, you could just go to bed whenever. So like the winter night, like as is coming up, and then similarly during the day, you like go to synagogue in the morning, you have lunch, you read a book, you learn Torah, you go back, you spend time with your family, and by the time it's 5 p.m., it's over. That's fine. In the later summer months when it's with your daylight savings, so when the sun sets at like 9 p.m. in the summer, so then you're kind of like, you've done everything, and you're kind of like want to know like, oh, what's going on in the world. So that's me. Some people, they're not, I'm a little more tech obsessed than maybe your average Orthodox Jew, but so that's sometime I do try to stay away from like Bitcoin stuff I'm not on any kind of tech stuff, but even just like talking about it, people come up to me and talk to me about Bitcoin, like from my synagogue or friends or but I try to like make that a day of real rest and like peace and like family time and other focus on my kids' school, learn a little bit of like learn the Bible, like whatever, different things like that.
No, it's because hand in hand with the conversation I've been having the whole time, it's got to be refreshing. It's got to be healthy. I am definitely addicted to my device, and probably not in the best way. I wake up and 6 minutes later it's in my hand, scrolling, falling on my face.
they make devices for that
Yeah.
you can like strap it to your body so it won't fall.
Yeah, and I actually was speaking with somebody this morning who was telling me about a family member who lives in Switzerland, and they everything's closed, and so it's not even a religious thing. It's just like everything's closed, or maybe it is a Puritan thing. Everything's closed on Sunday, and
Yeah, that makes sense.
families
Makes
are
sense.
forced to just hang out and go on road trips and spend
Right.
time
Well,
with
that
each other.
even, yeah, then you can go on. So like we have some holidays that are not like Sabbath. There are different levels of holidays in Judaism. A lot are there's Sabbath and that like we don't use electricity and stuff. Some holidays you can you know drive around and go on trips and things like that. So you know, I like both, and I like there is something really special. I recommend people do it. You know, sign off. Just sign. You know, different people do it for other technology sabbatical or even a social media sabbatical or something. So don't read the news. Don't like if you want to do something like let's say like playing a game or whatever. I mean even we don't like a lot really like we don't cook. We don't use fire. We don't use like you prepare all your food in advance. So like that's a heavy duty. I mean if you're not an Orthodox Jew and then that doesn't mean but like cutting out social media and Twitter and stuff like definitely good for your brain for at some points if you're like really into it, which I am. I think you are like very like to be connected.
No, I think I'm unhealthily connected. I've actually been cutting back more recently, trying to tweet less and check in less. But I did when I was I think my summer after my freshman year of college and then the summer after my sophomore year of college, I broke my phone Memorial Day weekend. I worked and lived down the shore, and my parents were like, hey, yeah, you're not getting a new phone. You can buy one yourself. And I was like, you know what? I'm on this island. I can live without one. For 2 summers in a row, I went without a phone, and it was incredibly relaxing. I had a little black book that I would carry around with me with people's numbers. I annoyed the shit out of my friends because I'd always be like, can I borrow your phone? Texting friends from my mom's phone. But most of the time I did not have a phone. It was very relaxing, just going with the flow, going to work, knowing where people were going to be at some point, just showing up, being like, hey, what's up? And just going with it.
Wow, that's yeah. I don't know if I could. I haven't tried other than Shabbat. I have not tried to take away from it. I'm pretty.
Well,
I'm not only just like that. I'm also like I'm a. I might get in trouble from Matt or anybody else that listened. I'm like big into the home like the home kit stuff like Siri and Alexa.
I
like,
even stay away from that.
I'm really because you know what I had this conversation with this woman that worked for Zcash, and she's like, can I ask you questions like what do you think about privacy or stuff? And I was like, I gave up. I gave up. I feel like it's too late for me. I'm not saying I value
Don't
it. I
give
appreciate.
up.
I do. I feel like I'm just like, look, take whatever you want. Like this, you've already got my whole shopping list. You know everything about me. You know where I am all the time. Like, just take it all. And like, I don't believe that there are any settings you can change on any of the devices to make them not. Or any like you can't turn it off. So it's either you have the device or you don't have the device. And I'm like, I like these things. I like my phone. It's probably listening to me all the time. I like the Alexa thing. It's probably listening to me all the time. I like I tell my lights to turn on and off. I tell my my doors to open and close, like or unlock and lock and stuff. So it's bad, and I just am like I'm done. I'm lost. I've lost that.
Don't give up hope. Michael, don't give up hope.
I don't know. Listen,
this is what we're fighting for.
Well, listen.
I'm
I said,
I'm not kidding, but I'm
all I need is if we've got. I know there's like a lot of. I mean, this is the like in Bitcoin. There are the different facets of like. There's the site. I'm really not a cypherpunk. Like that's the thing. I'm really a like hard money Austrian.
Well, if you're a Bitcoiner, you're a cypherpunk. You may just not know it.
Is that it? Well, I'm just a bad. Meltem Demir's put out a thing that was like, there's like the degree of cypherpunk product. There's like cypherpunk on one end and my dad on the other end, and like certain products exist somewhere in the middle.
That spectrum.
Yeah, it's a spectrum of that. So I'm pretty close to the my dad side of it. I guess I don't know. I guess I have a cold card, so like I feel pretty cool there. Like that's no. I mean, I do. I've got my I have my cold card and my wasabi. So like, all right, that's I'm cypherpunk just with my Bitcoins, not with any of the rest of my life.
No, well, no, that's another internal debate that I have as well. It's like, if this is successful, do we all really have to be afraid? Or, like, I'd like to believe in a peaceful world where...
I think that I'm optimistic. I am optimistic of the generally a peaceful world.
Most people are good, right? Do you believe that?
I do. I think so. I think so. I think that in certain cultures or certain societies, there can be they can be led astray. So you could have people that are on their own good, but led massively to do bad because of leaders of their societies. So, you know, various examples of that. But I think that people in their hearts, and if they have the right surroundings, are good. And I think that, and especially in America, I think in America where there is prosperity and basically like, and the more that it grows, I think that for the most part, prosperity will lead to more peace. And that the more people have, the less they are jealous of each other. So like I do think that we are going towards both more prosperity and more peace together, hand in hand.
I agree, and that's another thing that sort of gets lost in the whole Bitcoin versus fiat currency debate. Is the whole reason for money, right? Is to enable trade, free trade in particular, and that's when
which makes people better.
Yes,
trade is made for win.
Yes,
both sides win when in a free trade.
Yes, and right now the world of trade is such that you have all these different currencies, and you literally have a world where you have to barter and then trade, and there's just a literal point of friction in the global trade markets, and Bitcoin consolidating that, creating a borderless thing where nobody can censor your trade. I think will be overall, while it scares a lot of people, will allow Maduro to trade, but I think the net will be very much positive.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know what, I'm not an anarchist, so like there will still be police, and the police will still go after the bad guys there are people that do bad things with Bitcoin, you know, as was the example recently. But like, that's what a society and whatever police, and if you believe in government, like that's what they've always done, and that's what they'll continue to do. And the rest of us will live peacefully and just keep on doing our thing.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think that's really my main thing of like Bitcoiners, and what I hope to like bring to this is that I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic, and I think that like Bitcoin is good and does good and will make the world better, and like we are seeing it happen.
I feel like a lot of people are apprehensive to say that Bitcoin will be good for the world, though, right? Like
I'm not. I say that unabashedly. Like it kind of does go hand in hand. It's like, well, how's it going to be good? Well, number go up will make it good. Those two do have to go hand in hand, and I think both are going to happen.
What would be your low time preference investment in a post hyper Bitcoinized world? What would you want to build?
Oh, like what? Just like if I, I think that you know, education, that anybody anywhere can get the best of education, which is already happening. I think that's a sign of like what good there is to come. That anybody can learn, and learn at the highest levels of things. Like I didn't go to
access the best knowledge, best information.
Exactly. Like I did not go to college for economics or for history or any of this stuff. I went to school. I learned rabbinical studies such as kosher food production and the laws of Sabbath, and the prayers and Hebrew and Aramaic analysis. So that's my professional training, but I was able to glean all of this information. So I think that the more the wiser that the global conscious becomes, the better we will be.
Right. I like that framing. The wiser the global consciousness, and the fact that we're able to teach ourselves more things by ourselves will just enable the individual to become wiser.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah.
And it's just a random question, but you described how you didn't get college for economics or anything like that. Was your decision to become a rabbi startling to not startling? Did it surprise your family?
Oh yeah, yes. It's somewhat because my parents are not really religious. They're somewhat traditional and have become more so. But my older brother, who lives in Israel, who got me into Bitcoin, also got me into religion, and so he kind of started the path down first. And then, but he's not a rabbi. He actually He's a altcoin investment fund trader. By the way.
Jesus Christ!
No, whatever. He's probably. I think they're like mostly Bitcoin. But anyways, they're. But we talk Bitcoin and crypto like every single day, like a lot. We learn Torah together and we chat and we talk crypto together like all the time. So he started the path. He went to yeshiva. He didn't finish go through the whole rabbinical path, but I was a better student than him, and I mean he was kind of a wild child. I'll admit this isn't bad stuff. So he was finding religion was a path for him. Me, I was on my way to law school, and then my parents are like, why do you have to go and become a rabbi? Couldn't you do a nice Jewish job, become a lawyer? So that was tough for them, but I mean they're very happy, and they actually really like Bitcoin, and they like that I've didn't just leave technology and the world behind me. They like that I kind of brought it back, brought it in, and incorporated it in my life. So they really are very proud of that I'm the Bitcoin rabbi. That's they're like you did it. You made you made it in life. That's
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, you your interest at least does not fit the stereotype from which I would believe a rabbi would fall under, right?
Yeah, I mean I'm somewhat unique, but there will be more of us, and there are there are rabbis that are into different sports and athletics or all different kinds of things. Some of them just don't make a platform of it. They just kind of have their own interest, which is what I did for the first year and a half that I was into Bitcoin. And I was like, yeah, I could, if everybody else is just mouthing off on Twitter, well, I might as well too.
Yeah, it'll be funny to see what people think, what future people think of our Twitter fights, if they even go back and listen to them.
Yeah,
maybe they'll just fall into the ether.
I don't. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I think hopefully they'll be in a better. That's what I write. The dedication of my book is that I write it to my children, for whom I hope to be making a brighter, better world. So hopefully, if they are looking back at our Twitters or just wherever they are, that's the world that they have, and I hope that Bitcoin is part of that.
Well, it's beautiful. Your intention's pure, at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what that's really what I think makes the difference between a Bitcoiner and a crypto person. Mm-hmm. Bitcoiners really want to change the world and make a better, fairer financial system for everyone, and not just Lambos. Right? Somebody tweeted recently what happened to Bitcoin? It used to be all talking about Lambos, and now we're all buying dollar store shoes and cutting our own hair,
and having babies.
Yeah, that's what it's sorry, I got into this for the world revolution, not for my it's not. Listen, I'm a teacher. My salary is that I teach at a Jewish day school. I'm on a rabbi's budget. And I bought my first Bitcoins in the second half of 2017. It's gonna be a long. I'm not in here to I could be lots of other things making money in different ways, but that's not.
You're not trying to move order books on BitMEX or anything that.
No, that's not really my interest. And if people are, and if they're doing it and doing good things with their money, that's great. I don't have any problem with people making money, but that is not what interested me. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I spend my time thinking about and talking about and writing about and sharing with my family and sharing with my community about Bitcoin. It's not that you're all going to be rich in this. It's no, I think that this could. I am hopeful that this is a technology like lots of many other technologies that it just is going to have a ripple effect across the world. That was a roll of my eyes at the word ripple.
Yeah, nice crypto pun to throw in there. No, and I completely agree. I think the world needs it. I think it's time, and I do think I do think it's happening inevitably, and it is. It's fun to be on the front lines with you.
It is, yes, it is. I'm glad to be here with all of you, with you, Marty, and with everybody on the front lines, because that's what it takes. I mean, it's not gonna, no matter how good the technology is, it's not gonna happen unless there are it is. The block is the 10-minute blocks are the heartbeat of Bitcoin, but we're the breath and we're the limbs and we're the body that makes it. The heartbeat are those miners churning out blocks and that hash rate, but we're it wouldn't be anything. It would just be a technology that nobody would be interested in. It's got to actually be people that care about it and share it.
Yeah, you got to breathe life into it. And I was stuttering there a little bit because I was trying to think about what I wanted to say. And I was going to say, yes, we are nowhere near finish this battle that we're on, because it is going to be a battle.
Yeah.
It is a fight. We have to fight for this freedom. It's a freedom. And again, like I said earlier, we're at this cross points in modern humanity. We have to decide, do we want the panopticon or do we want the freedom? Michael, thank you for what you do. If you freaks haven't bought it yet, Bitcoin Money, a tale of better
of Bitville,
discovering good money. Yes, I'm trying to read it upside down right now. This has been a pleasure. Do you have any parting notes for the freaks?
Yeah, you guys do the best. Shout out to Matt Odell. Stay humble, stack sats. He's just got great. I love all of you. You guys have really memorable lines, and it makes it. It's have fun, do it, whatever. Make sure that you're having fun in Bitcoin. If you're not having fun, then you're doing something wrong, because you guys are doing it right. And so for all the listeners out there, make sure you're having a good time.
Well, thank you, and I agree. You always got to be having fun. Stay in touch with the inner kid, freaks. Peace and love. Take care.